Hello everyone! Welcome back to this game. Solus. This guy gave me trouble. So he's talking here about trying to kill us. Hopefully before the aliens show up. I feel like that's intended as a hint that this fight is under a time limit. But obviously that was not clear to me, and I imagine for most folks it would not be that clear. Most folks will actually be trying to defeat him, which is really difficult. So I feel like it would be good advice to say, instead of having to go through 9 turns, surviving for 9 turns before the fight ends, maybe 6. That would be a more fair amount for the people who are not simply trying to survive, the people who are trying to win. That said, this is New Game Plus. Do I have a shot at actually defeating Solus now? No. No, I don't. I tried multiple times and I could not defeat him. Here's the thing, he's got a crap ton of HP. 9,000 HP. And I just simply don't have the damage output to be able to do that. So instead, I will focus on the best way to survive, knowing that survival is, in fact, the goal. So first things first, it's definitely a good idea to equip your entire team with some sort of fire resistance item. In my case, I have the Heat Wall, which is an item you acquire later on. Thank you, New Game Plus. But whatever it is that Gelug is selling at the base of the tower that gives you resistance to fire attacks, definitely equip that. Along with that, if you have Zoretic on your team, Paralysis is obviously a good option, but Silence is even better. In RPG Maker 1, if an enemy does not have any status resistance, Paralyze at best has a 60% chance of landing. Silence, on the other hand, has a 90% chance of landing. And Solus's power largely comes from those powerful spells of his. Now, I have Zoretic and Soul Mist. If I had instead brought along Northwind and Terog, I wouldn't really have Silence as an option, I'm pretty sure. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what spells they do have, so not sure what the best strategy for survival would be for them. In the meantime, Soul Mist does have a healing spell, although which one she had at this point in the game, I'm not sure. Probably stick with Gentle Rain. I think she did in fact have that at this point in the game. Though, don't need to worry about healing right now. There we go. Silence. It may or may not also help to equip an agility boosting item, so that you could get your turns in first. Though, I'm betting Solus is faster overall. That said, if you could have a spell to boost your agility, so that Soul Mist could definitely get her healing spell in first, that would be helpful. That said, we are all outspeeding Solus now because we are in New Game Plus and are at a much higher level. Now, one of Solus's attacks does in fact lower our defense, but having that muted is helpful. That said, if we don't have Zoretic to mute Solus, guarding is definitely the best idea, and then heal as necessary. One of our characters might also be able to buff our defense to counter the debuff, so keep that possibility in mind. And at this point, the aliens have shown up. They're trying to capture the Mediomancers. We save one of our characters from being captured, but actually no we don't, because Soul Mist gets captured along regardless. And somewhere off camera, Terog and Northwind are also captured. Why do they capture Terog? He's not a Mediomancer. The only reason they captured Fantax is because he got in the way of the traction beam. And then, of course, we have this song playing again. And we now know that Ayan is playing that song whenever she's reviving Fantax from death. Oh my goodness! We can actually leave Ayan? I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to be able to do that, especially since we come back in here and the cutscene plays again. So we are not at all expected to leave Ayan. I'm gonna save state. And sure enough, once we do go through that cutscene, coming back in here results in the cutscene not replaying. So we're definitely not supposed to be able to leave this room before acquiring Ayan. In fact, just to be sure, I'm gonna load state. There is some dialogue that is triggered along the way with Ayan on the team. Is that dialogue also triggered? Yep. Definitely not supposed to be able to leave without Ayan. I am halfway tempted to try going forward without her. Oh, and for the record, Ayan is still damaged from the final battle. I was gonna fight you anyway, you didn't have to ambush me. Okay, let me recap what's going on here. The aliens abducted you, but they had to land to get those inside the tower. When they did, I snuck aboard. That's right. I've been following your life signs ever since, and now I found you. What about... Don't worry, I gave it to Gelug. There we go. He's returning it to Oasis now. It's the little details that are easy to miss. What wasn't mentioned is that Northwind was captured during the whole situation. Okay, saving again, and we are out of the first chapter, Life and Death, and into the second chapter, 7th one. It is interesting to think that we don't actually locate the 7th one until right at the end of the chapter. By the way, I think it's interesting how you have the chapter name like this. First off, what is that chapter name? How is it applied? Well, it is the file name for the scenario data that we are currently on. All the game scripting is saved as scenario data, separate from maps, characters, items, spells, etc. All of that is called system data, and when you build the game in RPG Maker, you tie the system data with the scenario data. Now, obviously, RPG Maker 1 uses memory cards because it was for the PlayStation, which did not have internal saving. Rather, it required you stick in memory cards. Now, typically, in RPG Maker, when you're developing a game and run out of memory for scenario data, you move on to the next memory card. But Emperor Seth instead used changing scenario data to separate chapters. And what I find interesting about separating chapters in this way is having the chapter title be on your save reminds me of Chrono Trigger, which did the same thing, albeit without having to worry about changing memory cards or anything like that. Alright, next thing on the to-do list is to bring back one of our party members. We have the option of Northwind, Soulmist, or Zeretic, I guess. If we recover Northwind, we get an affection point for Northwind. If we retrieve Soulmist, we get an affection point for Soulmist. And if we retrieve Zeretic, we get an affection point for Ian. Because Ian has taken a personal interest in Fantax, and she feels a little threatened if we bring another woman into the group. On that note, I can't remember if it's ever established why Ian has taken an interest in Fantax in the first place. Maybe Ian actually is smitten with him. Well, regardless, we are in fact going to go ahead and retrieve Zeretic, because I do want the affection point for Ian. It is my intention to end this run with Fantax marrying Ian, because I'm kind of curious what the marriage spells for them will be. Because with Northwind, marrying Northwind meant that Fantax gained some ice abilities like Northwind has, and Northwind gains some wind abilities like Fantax has. Soulmist doesn't necessarily have any elemental abilities, so I assume Fantax would gain some sort of non-elemental rain ability spell. Although it's possible that Fantax would also gain some sort of healing ability. Perhaps some burns? Maybe a poison attack? Regardless, I am most interested in finding out what happens if we mix Fantax and Ian's abilities, were they to marry. First guess is that Fantax would gain some healing abilities, which would actually be really useful. Also, Fantax already has some non-elemental attacks, thanks to acquiring Hiralkim's earth spells later in the game. So we don't really need any non-elemental abilities from marrying Soulmist. So, Zeretic, I guess. What? I'll explain on the way. For now, we need to save the others. Anyway, from here, we got ourselves a dungeon to go through, and... oh, it didn't occur to me that the event for teleporting us out of the room was actually in front of the wall. I figured we had to bump into the wall. Anyway, we definitely have a dungeon to go through, but I am probably not going to spend as much time talking about it as I did Sun Tower. Likely we'll be skipping on to the next boss. So, see you there! Or maybe I'll see you in this nearby room, because we have this guy who is collecting things from various cultures, and it is asked, what's an Earth? The next world on our trip. We're just about to start the process on them. Okay, first off, we don't need aliens pretending to be benevolent after starting a war. That's lame. More importantly, we're definitely going to ensure that the aliens aren't going to be starting the process on Earth, because this ship and everyone on it are gonna be blown up in a few years. Well, that makes me wonder, just about to start the process on them. Since it is a few years' time between now and blowing up the ship, did the aliens start on Earth in the meantime? Would certainly explain a few things. Okay, so we are currently in the middle of the anti-gravity section of the ship, which, if I hadn't said it already, I think this idea is pretty neat. But during this fight, Fantax got paralyzed, which would normally be an issue. Gotta have that cured at the after the fight, but I don't need to, because as a reminder, in order to have this sliding around effect, everyone is paralyzed. And as soon as we are either out of this or get into an encounter, everyone is cured of their paralysis so that they can fight. So don't have to worry about curing the paralysis. It's just going to wear out on its own as soon as we get into the next fight. Right. Okay, we didn't get into a fight. But now that we're in this room here where there's not anti-gravity, no more paralysis. As long as I'm here, I might as well use this world song that I got later in the game. I am told that this thing will not break at all, so I can use it to restore my health after every fight if I want. No worry about it breaking, just keep at it. Now, as long as I'm in this section here, let's see, there's a save point right here. So I made a complaint during my initial trek through this teleport maze about being sent really far back. But in hindsight, it is kind of important to be allowed to be sent back, because you gotta be able to return to the save point easily enough. That said, it is definitely annoying to be sent all the way back by accident and then have to fight your way back to where you were. So maybe the teleports that sent you all the way back could be a different color. Especially since you can't run from battle once you're in the anti-gravity segment of the maze. Oh hey, Zeretic learned a new power. I didn't think there were still more powers to learn. I'm going to assume Stun Field. That is really good. Ooh, I'm definitely going to be using that on the upcoming boss fight. Okay, we have arrived at the boss's lair, and my first time playing, I checked up on Soul Mist and Northwind, but I did not check up on Hirokim and Solos because one of them is a jerk who I now know actually killed Fantax during the opening sequence. And the other is Solos, who at the time I thought was pure evil. Instead, he's still a jerk. Not necessarily evil, but a big fat jerk. So why would I check up on them? That said, I have another opportunity to see what happens if I interact with their capsules, so... Hirokim. I'm glad she's alive, at least. At the least. Though, if you knew that she actually killed you before, would you say the same now? I can't believe he was right. Yeah, who knew? We're being invaded! I forgot how the music echo was amplified for this song. I mean, I get the intent. It's meant to make the song sound robotic, but it's kind of bad. Why are you doing this? Because if we invaded you, would you not foolishly resist us? Lives would be lost, never would truly accept us. All we have to do is save your world, and you would accept us as the benevolent rulers that we are. Yes, benevolent. We want to invade you, but you wouldn't see us as benevolent if we did that, so we're going to make you kill all yourselves and intervene so that we will look benevolent. I mean, if your logic says we want to invade you without it looking like we're invading you, that's not benevolence! Meanwhile, they're talking about a natural world that would have happened to Ian's world. A natural death, rather. And they're going to apply the same logic as all the worlds we visit, even yours in 1,000 years. It throws me off a bit that they never actually specify what this natural death is. Frankly, I think these aliens are just a bunch of narcissists. Okay, boss time. So let's see here. We got some really powerful attacks, such as Mega Quake. I no longer have my notes on hand telling me the weaknesses of various enemies. I think robots were weak to eyes, and lizards were weak to... It was either wind or fire. Nah, heck it. We're just gonna use Mega Quake. It'll definitely be nice to have Ian learn an attack from mirroring Fantax. Overseer. Okay, Tarog. Well, I know one of them is weak against fire, so we'll do that. And I could paralyze them both. Let's try it out. Mute would be a little bit more helpful against that machine, but... Well, nice that we paralyzed one of them, but definitely would have preferred it be the machine. Because that is an insane attack buff. Especially at the levels we were the first time we were here. So you know what? Stop it. Ha! Alright, the rest of this fight should be cake. Although you do have a non-magical spell, that is a slight issue, so you know what? We're going to hit you a little bit harder. First... heal, and do this. Oh crap. Your attack buff is not a magic spell either. But it don't matter. Oh, that's right. We wrecked their computers, so the aliens have to retreat. Take the time to fix it all up. Huzzah! Earth is saved! Can't we take their powers too? Not without killing them. Well, I mean, that's eventually going to happen anyway, but I guess we don't know that. We left a replacement stone in the left pod. In other words, there's now an additional amulet in the story. Although, not as powerful. What the hell is that? That's actually a really good question. What the hell is that? Sounds like trouble. It's been like this ever since the portals first appeared. Most people have gone into hiding. Hey, what's that? And now the cutscene is proceeding as normal. So, all that noise is people going into hiding? Anyway. Amulet down there, partly obscured by the message boxes. Would be nice if the camera scrolled down to it in order to make it the center of attention. Wait, what? Okay, I definitely have to wonder why some of these alternate story branches happen. Because we gave up to King, Lucitail decided to hypnotize Northwind and Terog instead of doppelgang as Soul Mist and Zeretic, and now we are actually acquiring this amulet that was dropped here, rather than have it immediately stolen. I mean, the alternate branches earlier in the game made sense. King was victorious, and therefore she took it to herself to bring the amulet to the fake master who betrayed her, and Solos took advantage of her perceived betrayal? But there's some real butterfly effecting going on with these other story branches, I tell you what. Hey, maybe we can combine this with the one Gelog brought back, and make our own portals. 2 of you stay here and protect the inn. The rest of you help me find Fadoon. Oh yeah, that was another thing I didn't do during my initial run. We were talking about going to see Fadoon once we got back to Oasis, but then I forgot to see Fadoon. So, definitely an interesting change here. We'll have to find out how this plays out next time. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.